Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here for WallStreetWindow.com. Mike Swanson knows his stuff. He made a killing running his own hedge fund and always gets out of the stock market before the government-generated bubbles pop, which is, by the way, what he's doing right now, selling all his stocks and betting on gold and commodities. Sign up at WallStreetWindow.com and get real-time updates from Mike on all his market moves. It's hard to know how to protect your savings and earn a good return in an economy like this. Mike Swanson can help. Follow along on paper and see for yourself. WallStreetWindow.com. Oh, great, man. Just as the music starts playing, our friend Steven Zunes calls in. On the Skype from Greece. Hi, Steven. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. Oh, let me turn you down here. Back off that microphone just a little bit for me. Thanks. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. You're the professor of what all now?
I am professor of politics at the University of San Francisco, where I chair the Middle Eastern Studies program. And I'm here in Greece. I'm bound for an academic conference in Istanbul next week, but I'm taking a vacation with my family. We're in an outdoor cafe in the shadow of the Acropolis, so I don't have just finishing up dinner, so I don't have too long. But I wanted to give you all a few minutes if you wanted to discuss Gaza or whatever you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, great, man. What a scene! Right there in the shadow of the Acropolis, huh? Right on. All right, well, first of all, before we get started, I have a correction. Earlier, I said I wasn't aware of anything but speculation about the so-called Hannibal procedure or doctrine or whatever it's called. But that is incorrect. Here it is in Haaretz that, yes, they have official Israeli government and military sources saying that, yes, they did resort, in fact, to this Hannibal procedure when it came to blowing up their own guy, Lieutenant Hadar Golden, who was had very temporarily captured by Hamas before they were all blasted with artillery, which is just amazing to me. Can you imagine American generals saying, yes, that's our policy, is we shoot artillery at any Marines or Army being captured by the enemy?
Israel's been violating a lot of international norms, particularly bombing civilians, bombing telling people they had to flee to safe areas in these United Nations controlled schools and then attacking the schools. There have been no less than 7 attacks against schools, and the Israelis and their bipartisan supporters in Washington that say, oh, well, Hamas stored some rockets in some schools or other military equipment, which of course really is bad, really is illegal. But these were unoccupied schools. The ones that were attacked by the Israelis had refugees in them. There were no military activities or equipment anywhere near them. The United Nations had given the coordinates of these places and saying, look, these are refugees here. There's no military activity here. And they attacked them anyway. Indeed, Israel has killed more children than they have fighters. And yet, just last week, by a huge bipartisan majority in the House of Representatives. In fact, it was so overwhelming they even just had a voice vote, but it had scores of co-sponsors, both Republicans and Democrats, claimed that Israel had no culpability whatsoever for any of the civilian deaths. It was all Hamas's fault. They are using human shields. And this is just after Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the United Nations had said that while Hamas had been doing some illegal things like lobbing rockets into Israel and storing equipment in unoccupied UN facilities and doing some other things they shouldn't do, they found no evidence whatsoever that Hamas was actually using human shields, which is basically keeping civilians against their will in harm's way as a deterrent for attack. And I have called these congressional offices, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? And they don't have it. Basically, they're quite willing to quote Amnesty International or the UN Human Rights Council when they criticize Syria, or they criticize Iran, or they criticize governments the United States doesn't like. But if they criticize a government the U.S. supports, oh my God, they're biased. You can't trust them. These guys in their air-conditioned offices in Washington, D.C. know more about what's going on the ground than the people who are there, the human rights experts, the monitors. I mean, the Democrats and these Democrats and Republicans who support this when it comes to empirical findings of human rights organizations, they're like some Republicans on climate science. They don't let the facts to confuse me. The ideology is what counts, and it's just it's nuts there. I am the last person to apologize for Hamas. So that these guys are bad news, but the atrocities by Israel had just been extraordinary. Nearly 1,000 civilian lives have been lost just in the past few weeks, and virtually all of them with U.S.-made equipment. Amnesty International called for the United States to suspend arms shipments to Israel because of these war crimes. Congress responded by increasing military aid to Israel.
All right, so a lot there. First of all, on the specific point of the human shields, it seems like now it's just a term of, it's a matter of semantics and jargon. What they mean by human shields now is, well, they're fighting amongst civilians, and so, but that's the same difference, right? Even though IDF headquarters can be right next to a strip mall, and, they're not guilty of using human shields, even though they're just as guilty if that's what it means now. But that's what it means now. They got to shift the definition a little bit for
they've rewritten it. And the definition of human shield is very clear. It's in the Fourth Geneva Convention, to which the United States and Israel and almost every country in the world are signatories to. They're basically, and here's the thing, that even if they were using human shields, that still doesn't give a country the right to attack civilians. In fact, it says that explicitly in the Fourth Geneva Convention. That,
well, and that's what Israel really means by this too, Stephen.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, in a domestic situation, let's say there's a botched bank robbery, and the bad guys hold some tellers and customers hostage, and let's say they're shooting at the cops. The SWAT team go in and kill the hostages along with the bank robbers and say, "Oh, it's their fault. It's not ours. They're using human shields."
Well, actually, that's a bad example, because of course the answer is yes. The SWAT teams can kill whoever they want with impunity and never get in trouble for it ever.
At least there'd be outrage. There would be outrage of that kind of thing.
Right. Well, there's supposed to be, yeah.
Some police forces unfortunately would indeed do that, but you wouldn't have these liberal Democrats, who are lining up defending what Israel's doing, like Alan Grayson and Jared Paulus and Jan Tarkowski and these kind of folks, who are being endorsed by groups like Progressive Democrats of America and Bold Progressives and all these folks as being all these wonderful, peace people. You wouldn't have people like that, defending if the cops do it, but sure enough, they're lining up defending Israel.
Yeah, well, and of course, the PR, I forgot who it was that wrote a great little piece about this that we ran on the blog at antiwar.com. About how it sounds like what they're saying at first on the surface is just, look at how evil Hamas is for using human shields, and it's just a talking point against Hamas. But what it really is they're writing a permission slip that it's okay to kill civilians, because after all, Hamas is the one that's putting them in harm's way, not us. So go right ahead and blast them. Don't even bother hesitating. That's the real, it's not the explicit point of the propaganda, but it's what underlies it.
Let me finish this little piece right here. If the House resolution that passed, in addition to accusing Hamas of using human shield, mentioned that ISIS, those guys, who are taking over these Iraqi cities, also use human shields. Now, why would they bring that up? If instead this resolution supposedly about Gaza. Well, there's talk of a joint U.S.-Iraqi military assault on Mosul and other big Iraqi cities to try to rid them of ISIS control. If they do that, there are going to be large-scale civilian casualties. And I think this is in preparation for a U.S.-Iraqi massive assault on northern Iraqi cities held by ISIS. This is not just about Israel. This is not just the thing about AIPAC or the Zionist lobby or anything like that. This is bigger than this. I think they are rewriting the laws of war to make it permissible that in the name of the war on terror, the United States and its allies can do whatever the hell they want, no matter how many civilians they kill, and it's going to be the fault of the terrorists, not the people who are actually killing the civilians.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Such an important point. You sure you can't stay one more segment here?
No, I'm afraid I got to run. But
all right. Well, talk to you soon.
Great.
Thanks. That's Stephen Zunes, everybody. We'll be right back. Hey, Al Scott Horton here for The Future of Freedom, the monthly journal of the Future of Freedom Foundation. Edited by libertarian purist Sheldon Richman, The Future of Freedom brings you the best of our movement, featuring articles by Richman, Jacob Hornberger, James Bovard, and many more. The Future of Freedom stands for peace and liberty, and against our criminal world empire and Leviathan state. Subscribe today. It's just $25 per year for the back pocket-sized print edition, $15 per year to read it online. That's The Future of Freedom at fff.org/subscribe. Peace and freedom. Thank you.
So you're a libertarian, and you don't believe the propaganda about government awesomeness you were subjected to in 4th grade. You want real history and economics. Well, learn in your car from professors you can trust with Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. And if you join through the Liberty Classroom link at scotthorton.org, we'll make a donation to support The Scott Horton Show. Liberty Classroom, the history and economics they didn't teach you.